Chris, did you like that I mentioned soccer instead of baseball for once?
No.
Most of my sports references have always been baseball, even though baseball.
No.
Yeah. And it's so funny because every time I mention baseball, I usually sit where you are and Rick's right here, and both Rick and Chris go like this. They're like, baseball,
Just
play ball.
perk up.
Yeah.
Baseball and D&D seem to go really good together because baseball's all about nerding out and the stats, the numbers,
Strategy.
the figures, the strategy.
Yeah. Waiting on one person to do one thing, and you're like, will they succeed?
Hello everyone, welcome to TabletopTalk, where we are going into part 2 of D&D with kids. So now, last episode, we had a guest, Jeremy's older brother, Brannon, who is back with us today. Jeremy, Kyle, producer Chris, and I will be the host for today's episode, Dr. D&D, as the moniker goes. And so I wanted to go to continue our last conversation. It was really cool from a spectator who has younger kids, getting to see you guys, and especially you, Brannon, talk about your older kids and what the choices that they're making. So that was super exciting. So before we start, any of you guys have anything?
No, I think I'm ready to dive in. I'm excited about this topic.
I got something to say. I'm super honored to be here. I think it's pretty
we're
cool.
happy you're
We're
here,
excited to
man.
have you.
Yeah, you're one of our most loyal listeners with a lot of very good feedback. Feedback is so important too.
It is. It really is. So honestly, make sure you guys get in the comments there and let us know how we're doing, or if there's something you want us to talk about. And you may be lucky and be related to Jeremy as well and get on the show.
Yeah. That's fair. Yeah. And as far as feedback goes, I don't know if there's any other way to do feedback, but if you're on, if you're listening to this on iTunes, I think if you click review and then you click 5 stars, it usually lets you comment your feedback to us. Mm-hmm. It makes sense because that's a full power feedback for us.
Yeah. Yeah. I was gonna say I don't think lower star ratings work. I think the system's broken or something. So even if you're mad, just give 5-star ratings so that you can at least be heard.
Absolutely. So last time we kind of dived into the settings and some of the mechanics, and we got into a little bit of that. But do you guys have any other rules or mechanics that you needed to alter to make the game more kid-friendly?
Yeah, I mean, like I said in the last one, I made my own custom character sheet that had just really basic things on it, and I color-coded it, and it's all just written with very simple math stuff, so she can just roll her die, and then I make her repeat what she rolled on the die, and then I go, and let's find it. It's the purple-colored one. What does it say? Okay, that's a +2 or something, so 18 plus 2 equals 20, and so that's our main thing. But
that's really fantastic.
But my kid's only 3, so I don't have very many rules on mine aside from that.
So for me on the mechanics, it depends on their age level because I got a bunch of different ages. Mechanics get tougher as the ages get older, and they know that they can do more things in game than the younger ones can, and so I have to kind of vary it a little bit, but it works pretty well.
Good.
Yeah. In some of these mechanics, have you ever had to alter anything in response to one of your kids' actions? Have they ever done anything to kind of work the system?
Okay, so I will say yes all the time, and I had to change. I had to change something for my youngest because we're getting into fighting monsters, and she's like, "I'm scared." So her wizard friend that's helped her at the beginning of the game gave her a dress to where she can hit a button and she turns invisible. She hits another.
That's so cool.
She hits another button and she gets to teleport back to the wizard. So if things get too scary for her, she's like, "I'm gone." Everybody's like, "Freya wasn't even," and you're like, I'm sorry, guys, she's gone.
She's done.
She's done. And then the wizard will drop her off later. And so that's been fun to have that. And she has a friend wizard that gets her out of all different sorts of situations and loves her. And my other kids are like, it's not fair. She gets all the best stuff and
but she's also just 3, guys.
But she's 3. So at the end of one of our scenarios, the wizard, she saved the other kids from something. And so the wizard, they're at his cabin on a lake, and he puts up a wall of water and with his wand, he projects a show, and it was how Freya saves the day. And it's a video, and I go through this whole montage of what happens, and all the kids are getting beat up, and Freya comes, and at the end of the day, she's carrying them all out, and all the kids are like, oh.
That's great.
So that's it. You got to be, if it's too scary, then you got to adjust a little bit.
Yeah, that's been the hard part in our game, is trying to come up with stuff that is easy and not too spooky.
Yeah.
And all. So there's certain like creatures I've wanted to throw in there, but I've thought about introducing a hag to be like a main villain in the island, but I'm like, I don't know. I think she might think it's a little too spooky right now.
So one of the things that we just did, and at the end of this first basically campaign that took 6 months, is that they just found a crystal that was destroying the land, and they had to fix it. And as it got closer, it was changing different colors. And when they got close, when it turned red, they turned into Minecraft characters. And when it turned blue, they turned into Lego characters. When it turned yellow, they turned into cartoon characters. And when it turned the other color, I don't remember which one I used, but they turned into Mario characters, Super Mario characters.
That's so cool.
Because I was like, how can I get them to fight more and stuff like that? Which that'd be like, I'm really trying to hurt you. And so I was like, well, if we do Legos, then they're building stuff, and I can make a Lego world for them. And so my son touched the crystal, and the crystal told him to pick a color, and he picked Legos. And then all of a sudden, the crystal drops out, and smoke goes out, and everything the smoke's touching is now turning into Legos. You've turned into a Lego character now. Your sister turned into a Lego character. Now you look around, and all it is Legos, and they're multicolored. And so for our next campaign, we're going to be playing in the Lego world. Trying to turn it back to the world that it was before.
So cool.
And think about how much you can do with Legos. I mean, in real life, but also, in game, it's like, God, you can do anything with that.
Yeah, my son,
amazing.
Ari, that same one that I was talking about last episode, was like, I could jump out the window and just be okay because I just fall into pieces and somebody could put me back together. I'm like, Ari, do you want to jump out the window? He's like, no. I didn't say I was going to. Because he's learning from his mistakes. And then somebody's arm gets shot out from a fireball, and they put it together. He's like, see, I could have jumped out that window.
See, I think we need to have Ari be in our group, because we can ask him, so what doesn't work? He could tell us from experience.
Gosh, I think every single campaign needs that one character that, for the DM's sake, is the one that goes, yeah, I'll open the chest. Why not? You hear something on the other side of the door. Well, I opened the door. Yes, it's chaos, but it is so fun.
Yes, the sword is whispering in a menacing voice that it can give you all sorts of power. All you have to do is take it. Why wouldn't I take it? Of course. That actually I did do that in a game.
Did you? And did they grab it?
I grabbed it. Oh, yeah. And, they said no evil characters. I was like, well, this is as close as I'll get to being evil.
Oh, that's good.
Sorry, Aiden. I think I downed you in that fight. I don't remember how it went. I think I downed you and the others downed me, and then they healed everyone and we put the sword away. I wasn't going to fight anyone. They just were very gung-ho to take me down before finding out what the blade did.
Oh my gosh.
Sometimes in D&D campaigns, not sometimes, always, there are failures. And what do you guys do to help your kids through those and deal with the obstacles?
I'll let you go first.
Yeah, mine is pretty simple. So far, there's been nothing of consequence. Again, we're running a basic farm one, so usually when she fails, it just means, doesn't look like there was this there or something. When my wife's involved, I'll sometimes add some more comedy stuff to it, but because I know if my wife fails, she knows what's going on. My kid is still kind of learning the stuff, so I've had no real consequences other than, it didn't happen, and she's pretty okay with hearing that she failed a jump or something like that. Nothing's happened for me to have to, like, alter it.
Okay, I have to alter mine all the time.
I was going to say, you've got a lot more kids, so I know you've got probably better stories than I do.
In my story, we were trying to fix this crystal, the thing that turned everybody into Legos, and they're going through a jungle area, and they see a little thing crawling around in the bush, and it was a gnome, but they didn't know it, and so they just fired at it. They just fired at it.
So funny.
It hit him, and then you see this little tiny creature pop out and say, "I'm gonna get you for that," and he's got a little weird top hat on, and he runs away, and then about 15 minutes later, a bunch of gnomes attack them and go take them to jail and stuff like that. And then they have to battle their way out of the thing to prove their worth. And then at the end, they're like, "We know this wizard," and they're like, "Oh, you know that wizard? Then we're cool." And they're like, "We should have said that at the beginning." And so
that's some Gravity Falls stuff right there.
Yeah. So and then they're like, "Okay, let's check it out next time before we attack it, or before we break the stone, let's do this." So I'll try to make it to where they can learn a good thing from their failure, and I try to incorporate that, maybe not the next time we play, but the time after, so that they could make the right decision and see that they get a better result from it. And then they can learn, like, hey, I changed my reaction. I might have failed there, but the next time I'm not going to go jump kick the spider into the woods and miss and get caught in a web.
And just restart the combat.
And restart everything.
Yeah. And then Kyle, going back to you, like maybe not failures, but you told us a cool story about, kind of getting your kid to, pick choices, like feeding some, I think it was goblins.
Oh, yeah.
Or being
yeah.
like, so even not necessarily a failure. So yeah, you should talk about that.
Oh, okay. I mean, I like to give multiple options. I like to do this for my actual players too. I like to give enough details that realistically you can make whatever choice you want. But of course she's 3, so I limit it down. So instead of going like heavily into like, oh man, you look at these goblins and like you can see their abdomens are just like concaved and like they seem to almost shake when they do things and struggle a little bit. Instead of going into that, I go into more like from the bushes, you're able to get close enough to their tent. And in each of the tents, you notice that there's maybe half a blanket that's ripped up with holes in it. You see a few like chicken bones and things. It doesn't look like there's much in here. In fact, they have even a money sack that's completely empty. And like, so with her, I go into a little bit more of like what you would see in a cartoon or something to represent like they've got nothing. And all, where with Jeremy, I'm going to just go into unnecessary Game of Thrones details and tell him that he watches, and as he gets closer to the cadaver, larva pops out from the eye hole and spooks him. But yeah,
not kid friendly. No. Well, some
And
kids,
so it
some
seems-
kids, not all kids.
So I will adjust it, but my kids don't know that. So like they had to go through a desert and fight these worm creatures, kind of like tremors. And for my oldest 2, I showed them like a sandworm, like D&D style.
Oh,
yeah,
gosh.
like the purple worm.
Yeah, like
and all.
the purple, and it's got these big things. And then for my youngest, I just showed her a regular worm.
Yeah,
But they don't know that I'm showing them different
That's
pictures.
so funny.
that's amazing.
Yeah, so
I'm gonna have to steal that just for my current campaign. You guys, Kyle, Trevin, Rick, if you're listening to this, Liz, if you're listening to this, Ben, just forget this part because I probably will use this.
What? Sorry, what were you talking about?
Exactly. Great.
No, I'm sorry. I wasn't listening. I got distracted. I'm sure it wasn't important.
Not at all. So what are 3 tips you have for DMs for maintaining a healthy game when playing with kids?
When playing with kids, keep it lighthearted. Try to add something that they can actually learn from it, since usually you're usually the parent of the kid or somehow related. I would hope. I hope it's not like Chris's slip and slide incident again with the kids going to his house. But no.
Gosh. Yeah, I heard that episode.
We were so light. It was gosh, we were balloons and cotton candy.
The producer's going red over there right now, like, Kyle, please stop pulling me into your stories. So, keep it simple. And honestly, patience. Just lots of patience, because it's hard enough getting adults to make decisions in a game. Kids are going to make fast decisions that are not always thought out. And that's okay. You just have to work with them and try and teach them the right and wrong on how to navigate it.
I would say, just like if you were DMing adults, you kind of have to feel the vibe of your kids. If they're a little scared, you might have to lighten it up. If they want to go a little more gung-ho, you might have to be like, okay, let's go fight some more baddies.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, the only goal for me is that they might learn a little bit, but I want them to have enough fun to where they're asking to play again. And I usually don't play with them unless they're asking to play.
Oh, that's cool.
So I wait till they come and say, hey, Dad, like we were just at a huge road trip. Hey, Dad, can we play? And I don't call it D&D. I call it Fireborn, because of the world that we created for them. And so they're like, Dad, can we play Fireborn again? I was like, yeah, let's do it. And so we played for a few hours on a road trip. So
nice.
That's something that, a little helpful tip, let them come to you.
I had to limit it, because every day Charlie was starting to ask me, like, can we play D&D? Let's play Dungeons and Dragons. Mama, we're going to play Dungeons and Dragons. And I'm like, I never said I was ready. Hold on. No. So we had to limit it to like once a week for a bit there. Just otherwise, I would never get a break.
Well, yeah, well, and you're such a lore builder and world builder that I think you'd be like, I can't just improv everything, Charlie. You need to give me months to write my manuscripts.
That's what I was thinking about when I was listening to him with his one-shots. I'm like, that's I just try to go improv. I have a couple creatures that I know they want to fight. They have kind of a mission of getting a gem so they can have their mom come and play D&D with them. In order to bring them back to the world, they have to get this gem. And so they're on this mission, but they go sideways so many times that you really have to be able to improv a lot.
So the thing is, I definitely improv most of my DM sessions. I just, though, make the world so filled with stuff that it's like, I just know what will happen.
That's cool.
And so, more often than not, I'm kind of just winging the game. I have maybe point A, point B, and like, here's maybe a map with some of the stuff. But realistically, I don't have like a set, oh, I'm hoping they run into this or do this. And I think this was because of the Sumner incident. That's what I refer to, the campaign that was the vampire spawn, killed everyone after Arvaldir finally became awesome, had a cool sacrifice. Eventually, I just hit rocks fall, everyone dies.
Yeah, when your players just go, oh, cool sacrifice. Anyway.
Man.
Well, I set up like a whole thing, and I gave them options, and somehow they picked like 2 choices that were not options I even conceived would make sense or possible. And because I was under the impression they were all going to play as good guys, and they're like, yeah, we're all going to be good guys. They immediately changed that on me. I think they had a meeting. Chris hasn't confessed to it yet, but
they were all conspiring.
I'm convinced that they were all conspiring. It didn't help our veteran player was playing like a sorcerer half-orc who came from an orc tribe and wanted to create his own warband, and everyone was looking at him to like, how do we play this? And so he's getting really into character, and they're like, we should build an orc war tribe. And I'm like, hold on, you're a cleric of... Hold on, no, stop. Like, isn't your whole backstory you hate slavery? No, not anymore. No.
And then, Kyle, I know you had mentioned, but Brandon, on any of your games, have you ever like used miniatures or anything that you can physically see? Or...
I will use pictures. I will sometimes. I don't really have figurines, other than my kids already have so many like miniature dragons and miniature things that I can pull off of and be like, okay, you know that toy you have? It's kind of like that, but it has this instead, and I'll pull a little bit of that. I'm not super artistic, so I don't have like the dioramas or the foam hills or mountains or that kind of stuff. But I try to use pictures if they're having trouble with the theater of the mind stuff, and I'll throw in a little bit of music here and there to kind of get them amped if they're going into a situation or something like that.
You're in Lego world now, though.
I know.
Yeah. So if you have
the perfect,
oh my gosh, yeah, like because I'm also not that artistic, but the idea of just going, we already have Legos. Oh my gosh, I can actually build a map real quick. We can have a battle map, and they can put their characters where they want.
Think about that. That's amazing.
You have Legos.
Oh my gosh, I'm so gonna do that now because I can build Legos.
Yeah. I was sitting here like you're talking about like the lack of diorama stuff. And I'm like, didn't you just say your characters are Legos? Why not just pull out the Legos? I never said I was the brightest. I never.
Well, none of us have.
Welcome again to Tabletop Talk, where we are the most incompetent people on the planet, but we all have a good hobby. So,
dang.
Yeah, I just the reason I ask is I know as a player who's new, did a one shot with Jeremy, and the little first part he had built this little model, and not even talking as a kid, just as a grown adult. That was so cool. It just helped that much more and got me into the campaign, or like the one shot, and becoming a campaign. So yeah, and I know just having a young kid, 2.5, that me and him will paint minis, and he's super into it. So that's definitely something I want to do when they get a little bit older.
Well, thanks. Yeah, that stuff was it was Kyle's stuff, and he had a huge bin of different material that he already had, and he said, "Hey, grab whatever you need for your one shot." And I went ahead and I was like, I've got an idea in my head of different things, and I go, "Oh, this will be perfect. This will be perfect. This will be perfect." So it was fun to have that, like a friend who already had a cache of stuff. And I've been talking to Kyle about this summer when I'm garage sailing. Going and looking for different board games and toys and things that I would actually just use as setting pieces.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Yeah, we've been talking about that since last summer, so we'll have to do that together here soon. I've been wanting to go out.
Oh, yeah, it's garage sale season right now.
Yeah.
Time is hot. You guys have anything else for playing with kids? Anything that you think listeners should know?
I will say it's a lot more fun than it is work, in my experience so far.
I couldn't agree more. And don't be afraid to change the world, because you can. It's so fluid that you could be like, their next mission, they're going to go fight Darth Vader with laser swords and stuff like that, and that's their next thing that they're going to have to do. So don't be afraid to change worlds with whatever's exciting.
Honestly, it's a little easier, I think, because of the fact you can do that, and kids are just down for the adventure. Mm-hmm. For them, it's almost like the old school Sunday cartoons that you didn't have to watch it in a row to know what was going on. It was like, oh, each episode's its own adventure. I know that Fred and Barney are still going to go off and do something dumb, but it's something new, and I didn't have to watch any of the episodes beforehand to enjoy it.
I would agree with that 100%. It's way easier than doing adults.
Yeah, because
way easier.
Especially, and I know this is, I'm actually looking forward to our next game in Jeremy's campaign, because I memorize everything that happened and take all these notes, and so I'm usually a DM's nightmare player of that guy who remembers, hey, didn't you mention that this guy is a wizard who actually specializes in this, and that would solve our problem? And the DMs usually look at me like, I forgot about that guy. Yes, you do know him. Okay, new dungeon. What's all those papers you threw to the side? Nothing important. Just last night and the night before.
Not 8 hours of work.
Yeah, when you do that, it's not if you do. When you do that, it'll be like, okay, well, it's time to find him.
We captured.
You're like, he's not there. Whoa,
oh, man.
Weird. You're outside
saying he's on vacation.
Yeah, he's on holiday. He's on a pilgrimage. I don't know.
He's on a pilgrimage. I'm going to use that, I think, for the next time. I need a character just not being there and all.
So one thing I was thinking about as you guys were talking about lessons learned with kids and how you see different sides of things is that when you're playing video games, especially by yourself, like if you're playing like Zelda, Animal Crossing, Minecraft, most of those games when you're playing have a save point. And you can just be like, oh, I did something wrong. And you just go back and you just try again. But Dungeons and Dragons, like with Ari, it's like, oh, there was no save point. You just caused this. And now everyone has to roll with it. So I think it's funny to like see that you're like, hey, there's this. You guys are used to playing games where you can like walk back your decision. And now you're playing where you can't do that. And also it affects everyone else.
Yeah,
absolutely, which is huge, which goes into so many of the studies where they're looking at this in all type of age groups, just that ability to make those decisions and live with consequences.
Now, my kids do know in my game, if they die, they don't die, they blink out and go back to our house. Because I got invited by the wizard. I'm like, you mean I can do whatever I want? So I jumped out of the building. And they saw me just poof. just poof. And they're like, what happened? I was like, yeah, the wizard said, he's fine. He just got, if you die here, you just get blinked back to there and you just vanish and you can come back later.
We did, however, revoke his permission for coming back.
They did do.
That's so funny.
What's your wizard's name? Because I have a turtle wizard that shows up occasionally in mine to take care of Charlie, and I'll name Telemachus.
Oh, Shaharan is my wizard's
Shaharan,
name.
there we go.
Shaharan.
I like that one.
Yeah, Shaharan is my wizard's name. So it's fun. And having somebody who's a wizard that's trying to help them along means that if they get into a really bad situation, instead of having the total party kill them, I could have the wizard come and be like, help them out a little bit. Get him past something and say, pull him out of a cavern or something like that and be like, hey guys, are you okay? Okay, and then he gets to poof back.
Yeah, if you're DMing for kids, this is like the one time I say you definitely should make a DM PC. Like that's just, they don't have to join in on the adventure. They just are always there on the side, ready to help.
Exactly.
Okay, so I need to make a DM PC for you guys.
For your kids.
I was saying for my party that I'm, or my campaign, Kyle, Trevin, Rick, Liz, Ben.
I mean, you can, but there's a good chance it's just going to end up like the Summoner event when I had you come in to help them and they killed you.
Yeah. Straight through the heart.
Straight through the heart.
Oh, no.
So this was 3.5, and it was actually the sorcerer. He took like a stake, and he was going to stab the vampire spawn, and he used True Strike, so that at the time used to be a plus 20 to whatever you rolled. So it was like you always will hit. He rolled a nat 1, and I couldn't resist the moment of the fact that it's like, if I normally, when people like in 3.5 would roll a nat 1 on my games, if they were like in close combat, that meant there was a possibility they were going to hit like an ally and all. And I still sometimes do that, not as much. I feel I've matured past the point of just nat 1 has to be like the most devastating thing, but this was just awful. I was like, you used it with True Strike, therefore like whatever you did should have been amazing. Unfortunately, instead of hitting the vampire spawn through the armor, you just swing and you just stabbed Van Helsing like right through the chest, and Jeremy's character just dropped. And I had brought him in to try and save them from their decisions.
So funny. They were supposed to like, hey, do all this stuff for Kyle, and he's like, you just have to get them. You're basically all you need to do. They need an escape, so you just tell them to get out of here, and that's what I did. And then 2 of them left, and one of them was like, "No, I can fight him," and he killed me. And Kyle describes it perfectly, which Kyle describes deaths so well in D&D, and I just remember like he describes the death, and I just go, why? And just collapse on the table.
I think that was the point when Sean realized he might need to change up his game. No, because everyone was like, Orc Warband! Oh, and kill players! Yeah. And I'm like, these are none of the lessons we're trying to teach new players.
That is awesome. Well, that is all the time we have for today. Thank you guys for joining us. and go get your younger family members, non-family members, younger generation in this. Just listening to this, a bunch of cool stories and things to go from it. So thank you guys for your time listening. This is Tabletop Talk.
That's fun.
Yeah, that was good. I'm taking away a lot of lessons to use in my games with adults now.
Yeah, because we're just big kids.
It's so funny.
We really are.